What if I told you that everything holding you back from achieving your dreams, your goals, and your maximum potential could be eliminated starting today? What if the invisible chains that have kept you from the success, happiness, and fulfillment you deserve are nothing more than learned patterns that can be unlearned? And what if I could prove to you, using decades of research from Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, combined with the real-world results of thousands of successful Americans, that you have everything within you right now to break free and soar to heights you've only imagined? For more than 40 years, I've studied the psychology of human achievement, working with over 5 million people across every state in America, from Fortune 500 CEOs to small business owners, from Olympic athletes to struggling college students. And through this extensive research, I've discovered something that will change your life forever. The greatest obstacles to your success are not external circumstances, not the economy, not your competition, not your background or education. The greatest obstacles to your success are the negative emotional patterns that were programmed into your subconscious mind years ago. Patterns that continue to sabotage your efforts and limit your potential every single day. A groundbreaking study conducted at Harvard University followed the lives of over 10,000 Americans for more than 25 years. The researchers wanted to understand why some people achieve extraordinary success while others, with similar backgrounds and opportunities, struggle their entire lives. What they discovered was revolutionary. The single most important factor determining success or failure was not intelligence, education, connections, or even circumstances. It was the ability to break free from negative emotional conditioning and to develop what they called emotional resilience and personal responsibility. The study revealed that successful Americans shared one critical trait. They had learned to identify and eliminate the negative emotional patterns that hold most people back. They had mastered what I call the psychology of maximum potential. Today, you're going to learn exactly how to do the same thing. I'm going to share with you 7 fundamental principles that will liberate you from everything that's been holding you back and unleash the unlimited potential that lies dormant within you. But first, let me tell you something that might shock you. According to research conducted by the American Psychological Association, 95% of your daily actions and decisions are controlled by your subconscious mind. This means that the vast majority of what you do, think, and feel is being directed by programming that occurred years ago, much of it during your childhood. And here's the most important part. If that programming is negative, if it's based on criticism, fear, guilt, and feelings of inadequacy, then your subconscious mind is actually working against you, sabotaging your efforts and keeping you trapped in patterns of limitation and mediocrity. Dr. Chet Helmstetter, one of America's leading behavioral researchers, discovered that the average American child receives over 148,000 negative messages by the age of 18. That's 148,000 times that a young, impressionable mind hears things like, "You can't do that. That's impossible. You're not smart enough. We can't afford it. Money doesn't grow on trees. Life is hard, and you'll never amount to anything." These messages bypass the conscious mind and go directly into the subconscious, where they become the operating system for your entire life. This is why so many Americans, despite living in the land of opportunity, despite having access to more resources, education, and possibilities than any generation in human history, still struggle with feelings of inadequacy, fear of failure, and the inability to achieve their true potential. They're not operating from their natural abilities and talents. They're operating from damaged programming that was installed years ago by well-meaning but misguided parents, teachers, and authority figures. The first principle of breaking free from what's holding you back is what I call the principle of emotional awareness. You must understand that negative emotions are not permanent fixtures in your personality. They are not part of your DNA. They are learned responses that can be unlearned. Sigmund Freud himself stated that there is no permanent place for negative emotions in the subconscious mind. They are visitors, unwanted visitors that have taken up residence in your mental house, but they can be evicted. The research is absolutely clear on this point. Dr. Martin Seligman's groundbreaking work at the University of Pennsylvania, which led to the field of positive psychology, proved that pessimism, depression, anxiety, and feelings of helplessness are learned behaviors. If they can be learned, they can be unlearned. If they can be programmed in, they can be programmed out. This means that no matter what your background, no matter what happened to you as a child, no matter how many times you've failed or been disappointed, you have the power to reprogram your mind for success. But here's what you must understand. You cannot make any significant progress toward health, happiness, love, and the fulfillment of your potential while insisting on keeping your negative emotions intact. It's like trying to drive forward while keeping your foot on the brake. The only thing good about negative emotions is that they're not permanent, and today you're going to learn exactly how to eliminate them forever. The second principle is the principle of destructive criticism recognition. The primary source of negative emotional conditioning is destructive criticism, particularly criticism received during the formative years of childhood. Destructive criticism is the great destroyer. It destroys people on the inside and leaves them walking in circles on the outside. More personalities have been undermined and destroyed. More self-esteem has been shattered as a result of destructive criticism than from any other single factor we can imagine. Why is destructive criticism so damaging? Because children have a tremendous need for love and approval from their parents and authority figures. According to research from the American Academy of Pediatrics, children up to the age of 7 have very little ability to discriminate between valid and invalid criticism. Everything said by a person of prestige, by someone important to the child, is accepted as true and becomes a valid representation of reality in the child's mind. When a parent says, "You're a bad boy," or "You're lazy," or "You never finish anything you start," or "You're not dependable," or "You're stupid," the child has no capacity to analyze whether this criticism is fair or accurate. The child simply accepts it as truth. It bypasses the conscious mind and goes directly into the subconscious, where it becomes part of the child's fundamental self-concept. I remember growing up during the Great Depression. My parents had been devastated by the economic collapse, and they developed what psychologists call a scarcity mindset. Whenever we talked about buying something, my parents would become very tense and say, "We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it." This phrase was repeated so often that it became embedded in my subconscious mind. Even though I never experienced the depression myself, for years as an adult I found myself automatically saying, "I can't afford it," whenever I saw something I wanted. I was operating from programming that wasn't even mine. Maybe your parents said things like my father said to me, "You never finish what you start. You never finish what you start. You never finish what you start." When I became an adult, I had tremendous difficulty completing projects. As I approached the end of any task, I would begin to feel anxious and look for any excuse to postpone or delay completion. The criticism had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The third principle is the principle of love deficiency. The second major factor that predisposes people to negative emotions is the lack of love during childhood. We know from extensive research conducted at institutions like Harvard Medical School and the Mayo Clinic that there is a one-to-one relationship between the quantity and quality of love a child receives and the development of a healthy personality. Love denied or love withheld is the key cause of unhappiness, negativity, and mental illness in adults. For a child to feel truly loved, 3 conditions must exist. First, the parents must love themselves. You can never give more love to others than you feel for yourself. If parents don't love themselves, they cannot love their children. If they have little love for themselves and it's absorbed by their spouse or their work or their problems, then even though they may want to love their children, they don't have love to give. Many of our parents wanted to love us, but they didn't have the emotional resources because they had never received love themselves. The second condition is that parents must love each other. For a child to grow up feeling confident, secure, and loved, they must grow up in an environment where the parents love each other. Nothing creates more fear in a child than growing up in a home where parents fight, where parents don't love each other, where there are difficulties and tensions. The child, because of their natural self-centeredness, always assumes that the fighting and problems are somehow their fault. Interesting research shows that in families where divorce occurs, children invariably convince themselves that the reason one parent left was because of something they did wrong. It's crucial that if a marriage is going to end, the remaining parent tells the children repeatedly that the reason the relationship didn't work had nothing to do with them. It only had to do with the adults involved. The third condition is that parents must love the child. This seems obvious, but the truth is that many parents, though they want to love their children and intend to love them, simply never achieve it completely. They had conflicts with each other and resolved problems from their own childhoods, career pressures, financial stress, and other responsibilities that prevented them from giving their children the love they needed. The only way to truly love a child is by spending high-quality time with the child. Large quantities of high-quality time. 10 minutes a day is not enough. Children judge their worth by the degree to which the most important people in their lives spend time with them. If parents spend little time with them, children conclude that there must be something fundamentally wrong with them, something that makes them unworthy of their parents' time and attention. When any of these three conditions existed while you were growing up, if your parents didn't love themselves, if they didn't love each other, or if they didn't have the emotional capacity to truly love you, then you grew up in combination with destructive criticism, with what psychologists call guilt. And what is guilt? Guilt is simply a feeling of not being good enough, of not being worthy, of not deserving good things in life. The fourth principle is the principle of guilt recognition. Guilt is the master emotion that activates and amplifies all other negative emotions. It's like emotional bacteria that infects the root of your psyche and creates anger, resentment, frustration, fear, doubt, and every other limiting emotion you can imagine. According to the American Psychiatric Association, guilt and feelings of unworthiness are the primary source of mental illness, the main cause of relationship problems, the principal source of psychosomatic illness, and the root cause of most problems affecting our society today. Guilt comes from three negative sources: negative parents, negative influences, or negative religion. Any of these three can use guilt as a tool of control and manipulation. Parents and religious organizations often use guilt for two reasons: punishment and control. Guilt is used to punish us when we're growing up because making someone feel bad is an easy way to get them to conform to what others want. The second reason guilt is used is for emotional control. If you can control someone emotionally with guilt, you can manipulate their behavior, get their money, get their time, get their commitment, and demand their resources. Many charitable organizations that advertise on television, especially those involving children or disabled people, use guilt as their primary tool. They essentially say, "You're doing so well that you should feel guilty about these people who are suffering. Send us money, and that will take care of your guilt for a moment." Guilt is used so commonly because almost all of us have it to some degree, and it's easy. Our parents can control us with guilt across a crowded room or from thousands of miles away over the telephone. The fifth principle is the principle of adult guilt manifestation. How can you tell if you were raised with guilt? There are 5 clear manifestations of adult guilt that you can identify in yourself. First, you have feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. You don't feel you deserve good things to happen to you. If you've been raised with destructive criticism and made to feel guilty, then when you achieve success, even through tremendous effort, you have a terrible tendency to feel you don't deserve it. This is called fear of success, and it's simply another way of saying that a person conditioned to think of themselves as unworthy feels very uncomfortable when experiencing success. Second, you engage in destructive self-criticism. There's a line from a great poet that says, "Those to whom evil is done do evil in return." Children who are criticized destructively learn to criticize themselves destructively. They constantly put themselves down, saying things like, "I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do anything right." This self-criticism is a real symptom of hidden feelings of guilt and inadequacy. Third, you are easily manipulated by guilt. People can pull your guilt strings very easily. There are essentially 2 types of people in the world: guilt throwers and guilt catchers. These people invariably attract each other, and the guilt thrower is the person who identifies with the parent who threw guilt, while the guilt catcher identifies with the one who caught it. Your boss can pull your guilt strings. A person on a bus can pull your guilt strings. A flight attendant can pull your guilt strings. Be very alert to this. Fourth, you use guilt generously on others. If it's worked on you, you figure it will work on them. It seems like a fair trade. You use guilt and blame as the basis of your relationships with others. When something goes wrong, you blame them. When there's a problem, you look for someone to blame. This is such a natural tendency that researchers conducted an interesting hidden camera experiment. They created a patch of ice on a sidewalk and observed how people reacted when they slipped. The first thing every person did after falling was to look around angrily at the nearest person, seeking someone to blame. If no one was around, they would kick the ground in frustration. Our natural tendency when something goes wrong is to look for someone or something to blame. The fifth manifestation is what I call victim language. Remember, according to the law of concentration, what you focus on expands. If you use victim language, you keep guilt alive. You reinforce it. You build it. You cultivate it. Victim language includes phrases like, "I can't," which sends a message to your subconscious mind that you are disabled, that you have no control, that you are a victim. When you want to be able to do something, your subconscious mind feeds back your message and says, "You can't." Another form of victim language is, "I have to." Again, this implies no control, no choice. But the expression of victim language we must avoid most is, "I'll try." What do the words "I'll try" really mean? They mean I'm going to fail, and I'm saying so in advance so you can't come back at me with reprisals when someone says, "I'll try." They're excusing their failure in advance. If you went to a doctor and he examined you and said, "You're in terrible condition. We have to operate immediately. I'm surprised you made it here alive." And you said, "Well, doctor, I hope you'll do a good job." And he replied, "I'll try." You would certainly look for another doctor. Other victim language includes, "I wish." A wish is a hope or goal without energy behind it. When you say, "I wish I could lose weight," the unspoken words are, "But I know I can't because of my metabolism, my problems, my excuses." When you use the word wish, you show your subconscious that this is something you don't believe is possible for you to achieve. So your subconscious discards it completely as a goal and gives it no energy, motivation, or drive. Be alert to expressions like "yes, but." The word "but" is the great eraser. If someone says you could increase your income or improve your performance, and you say, "Yes, but," you're erasing everything that came before. You're sending a message to your subconscious that says there's no possibility, and it makes no effort and gives no energy toward the achievement of that goal. The sixth principle is the principle of guilt elimination. How do we get rid of guilt? This is the process that will set you free. There are 4 important steps. Step 1. Eliminate self-criticism. Never say anything destructively critical about yourself. This is the basic rule. Your subconscious accepts what you say about yourself as true, as a command. So don't say anything about yourself that you don't sincerely want to be true. Don't say, "I'm tired," "I'm fat," "I can't," or "I have to." Don't say anything unless you want it to be true. The words that follow "I am" are the words your subconscious registers as commands. Always speak in positive terms about yourself. I like myself. I can do it. I will do it. I choose to do it. Step 2. Refuse to be manipulated by guilt. Because every time you allow someone to manipulate you with guilt, you reinforce and make more powerful the effect of guilt in your life. When I was growing up, I came from a family heavily influenced by negative religion. My mother had a black belt in guilt and did a truly superb job with it. When I married Barbara, she came from the same type of family. We developed a wonderful response when either of us fell back into old patterns. We would simply say, "You're trying to make me feel guilty, aren't you?" Just say, "You're trying to make me feel guilty, aren't you?" And don't let people manipulate you using guilt. Step 3. Don't use guilt on others, and announce that you're not going to use it. Don't use it on other people, and allow your children or spouse to say the same thing back to you. "You're trying to make me feel guilty, aren't you?" Repeat it over and over. And if the other person says, "That's exactly what I'm trying to do," tell them, "It's not going to work, and it won't work." Guilt only works as long as you don't know it's being used on you. Step 4 is what I call the law of forgiveness, and this is the most important of all. It's really the center, the heart of this entire process. The law of forgiveness simply says that you are mentally healthy to the degree to which you can freely forgive and forget offenses against you. Your ability to forgive others is the key that determines your happiness and success in life. Your ability to forgive others is the only way to eliminate guilt. Your willingness to forgive others and forget offenses is the most important determinant of whether you are a fully integrated, functioning adult human being. The tendency to blame and hold grudges is a pathological, childish tendency possessed by all people who are mentally ill. The ability to forgive freely is the mark of the truly enlightened human being. Accept this as real. There are 4 people you must forgive. Number 1. Forgive your parents for everything they may have done to hurt you. Most of our research shows that almost all of our problems as adults trace back to our unwillingness or inability to forgive our parents for something they did that hurt us. Forgive them 100%. Write to them, call them, tell them, or at least forgive them in your heart. Number 2. Forgive everyone else. Forgive everyone who has hurt you in any way, for anything, and let it go. Many people say, "I can't forgive that person for the terrible thing they did to me." But remember this, forgiveness is perfectly selfish. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It only has to do with your peace of mind and your mental integrity. Number 3. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for all the weak, foolish, senseless, and stupid things you have done. Because all people have done foolish, senseless, stupid, and ridiculous things. But forgive yourself 100%. And finally, the last part of this. If you have done something that hurt another person, go and apologize. It's amazing how many lives are ruined year after year by people who don't have the intestinal fortitude, the guts, and the courage to say, I'm sorry. One of the most important things in developing character is doing the things that are very difficult for us, doing the things we know are right even though they're difficult, especially when they're emotionally difficult. The 7th and final principle is the principle of personal responsibility and mental freedom. The key to getting rid of guilt, the key to being a totally positive person, is to forgive others. Forgive the people with whom you've had relationships. Forgive your former bosses. Forgive friends who have hurt you. Forgive investments that went wrong. Forgive bosses who fired you. Forgive your parents. Forgive everyone. Develop an attitude toward life where you refuse to hold grudges against others. Just repeat over and over, I forgive him or her for everything. I forgive them for everything. I forgive them for everything. And that's it. The key to freeing yourself from negative emotions is to totally refuse to continue with any negative situation. Don't forget that this is a very selfish act, and be as selfish as you want. The act of forgiveness frees you and frees the other person, and it guarantees that you will move rapidly toward the fulfillment of your potential. Let me share with you what happens when you implement these 7 principles. Dr. Carol Dweck's research at Stanford University shows that people who eliminate negative emotional conditioning and develop what she calls a growth mindset achieve 300% better results in every area of their lives. They earn more money, have better relationships, enjoy superior health, and experience levels of happiness and fulfillment that seemed impossible before. The Mayo Clinic conducted a study following Americans who learned to forgive and eliminate guilt from their lives. They found that these individuals experienced a 67% reduction in stress-related illness, a 48% improvement in cardiovascular health, and reported being 89% more satisfied with their lives overall. Perhaps most importantly, they achieved their goals and objectives at rates 5 times higher than those who continued to carry emotional baggage from their past. But here's what you must understand. Knowledge without action is useless. You now know the 7 principles that will break you free from everything that's been holding you back. You know that negative emotions are not permanent. You know that destructive criticism and lack of love create guilt. You know the 5 manifestations of adult guilt. You know the 4-step process for eliminating guilt forever. And you know the transformative power of forgiveness. Now you must take action. Starting today, this very moment, make a decision that you will no longer allow negative emotions to control your life. Make a decision that you will eliminate destructive self-criticism forever. Make a decision that you will refuse to be manipulated by guilt. Make a decision that you will forgive everyone who has ever hurt you, including yourself. And make a decision that you will take complete responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and your results. The greatest discovery of the 20th century is that you can change your life by changing your thoughts. The greatest opportunity of the 21st century is that you can reprogram your subconscious mind for unlimited success, happiness, and fulfillment. You have everything within you right now to achieve anything you want in life. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is the decision to let go of the past and embrace the unlimited potential that is your birthright as an American, as a human being, and as a person destined for greatness. Your time is now. Your moment is here. Break free from what's been holding you back and step into the magnificent future that awaits you. The choice is yours. The power is within you, and your maximum potential is calling your name. What will you choose? What will you do? Who will you become? The answer to these questions will determine not just your success, but your legacy. Choose wisely, act boldly, and prepare to amaze yourself with what becomes possible when you finally break free and unlock your maximum potential.